Okay. Hi, everyone. I believe we are live. How is everyone doing on this beautiful, yes, we are, doing on this beautiful Sunday afternoon? What's today, January the 12th? Oh my God. Today is one of my friend's birthdays. Well, I got to tell her happy birthday. So, hello, hello, hello out there. I'm Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. You have joined us for A Queen's Roundtable Show, which happens every second and fourth Sunday of the month. I bring on a different entrepreneur and we talk openly and honestly about entrepreneurship, some of the ups and the downs, because we know it's not an easy road, right? And we end off on an educational note where they share different tools and techniques with you that will help you to grow, continue to grow your business. Now, without further ado, I'm going to let my guest introduce herself to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Malaika Simmons, and I am an author, speaker, and a design strategist. Design strategy is rooted in design thinking, and design thinking is essentially creating experiences. So it crosses several industries. I like to say that I'm a design thinking practitioner by training, but a world changer by calling, meaning that I use design thinking, which is all about human-centered design. How do we create experiences to help humans experience life in different ways? A lot of times that could be through IT. Sometimes that could be in hospitality. Like whenever you go to a hotel and like they have the swans on their bed, or if it's your anniversary, they've thrown roses on the floor. Any of those things that make you experience their product or service in a different way is human-centered design thinking. So that's what I do professionally. And then my calling is just to empower women. I've learned over the course of years that I am just a teacher by nature. I come from a family full of teachers. I mean, seriously, almost everyone in my family has taught at some point, and some of them still are in different forms of education. And so education has always been supremely important to my family. One thing, we traced our family back to 1785 initially, which was a great undertaking by one of my cousins. She went through all sorts of archives. We have slave records. I mean, like we wanted to find out who we were and why we were, right? And I think we all are kind of on a similar journey, but we've kind of done that as a family. And I think that also kind of dictates how I operate in the world because it's just so important, that sense of self inside my family. And so I try to get other people. I always say that I just so love the family that I grew up in that I want to kind of spread that around to people because everyone doesn't have support. Right? Everyone doesn't have the kind of family that talks to each other. I have had many, many, many nights talking to people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I had a cousin that was 104. Like we grew up around the older people in our family, listening to them and understanding who we are in the world. And so I always try to kind of give that back to other people.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people don't have that, myself included.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I count myself as blessed that I have known greats, my great grandmothers on both sides. And yeah, so, I mean, I just think that that feeling of community that a lot of us know about and we try to kind of replicate, especially like in the African American community, we don't always, we don't always have that. So I just tried to recreate that in everything that I do. I always say that facilitation of discovery is my drug of choice. Like I love, 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 love when people get that aha moment and realize how great that they are. And personally, I'm just really, really interested in young women and girls and women empowerment around that area. So
Okay. Wow, nice. Beautiful, beautiful. So maybe you said it and I just missed it. What area do you currently live in?
I live in Northern Virginia,
Northern Virginia. Okay.
right outside
And
DC.
you said right outside of.
DC.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I have a girlfriend there in that area. Okay. Have you been in that area long?
So I've been in I started in I won't say I started I've been all over, mostly East Coast. I was raised in Philly. So I
Okay.
grew up in Philadelphia. I moved to North Carolina, whereas that's where a lot of my family is from, in North Carolina. So my cousin was president of Shaw University down in Raleigh, North Carolina. We have a lot of family that's gone to lots of the different schools in North Carolina. We have we call it Cousins Weekend. We go down, and a lot of my family graduated from Hampton, so we're always down in the Virginia area. So that's where a lot of my family is, Virginia, North Carolina, and I currently live in Northern Virginia.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, nice. Now your business, you operate online as well as you have a physical space.
So primarily online. A lot of I speak in different locations. I do coaching online.
Okay.
I do through like we're doing right now. Most of my coaching is done through Zoom sessions. Occasionally, I will do face to face.
Okay.
So I created an intentional framework for living called Momentology.
Right.
And Momentology is the study and practice of operating in the now, succeeding with what you have right now. Literally, the study of the moment, of operating from now, right? Um, we're often so caught up with what we should have done with ourselves, what we missed out on, that we're missing what we could be getting right now, right? And that's the past. And in terms of the future, we're so busy worrying about what's not going to happen or worry about what's to come, we're still not operating and doing the best thing for us in that moment. So um, you've heard of mindfulness, right?
Yes.
Right. So I call it mindfulness for the rest of us,
Okay.
because I used to go to the grocery store and you would see like these really serene looking women on the cover, and they're like doing yoga, and typically they're not African American, they're not
Mhm.
women of color. And I used to think, African American women of color have the highest prevalence of everything you can think of, from
Everything.
heart disease to stress, mental health problems. And I'm like, okay, so where's our Zen? Like, if anybody needs it, we did, right? But it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Like, am I supposed to be, what is meditation? And am I supposed to be doing affirmations? Is it like, om all day long? Like, how do I get from there to, I'm struggling with 3 kids and 2 jobs, and I want to, start a hair salon one day.
Right.
Like the practical application of
Mhm.
being in the moment. And so I love neuroscience, just one of my favorite things. And so from the study of neuroscience, my degrees are actually in health education and psychology. I just started to notice a pattern throughout time, and I'm talking about through in the Bible and Buddhist teachings. There's just a through line of how people can live um, better lives. And there's a couple of different tenets. So there are 3 major tenets to momentology: awareness, gratitude, and expectance. And
Say,
I
say it again. Awareness, gratitude, and
expectance.
expectance. Okay.
Mhm. And so it's like, I like to say, like, to you learn to act your age, AGE, learn.
Mhm.
So the awareness is, there's something in the back of your head, like, "Ah, this can't be life. Like, what is going on? I got to do better. I got to do something." You sometimes don't know what it is. It's just like this uncomfortableness that your life is not the way you want it to be. You don't necessarily know what to do with it, but you know that it's there, right? And so there's a whole set of principles I teach around awareness and how to become more aware of both your surroundings and your inner self, and what you truly want out of life. And then the second principle is gratitude. And gratitude is the thing that we often think we are, but we typically are not.
Okay.
Right? It's like, if you spend time complaining throughout the day, that's not being grateful.
Okay.
um, Even though you may quote unquote have something to complain about. Yes, life is hard. It always is for many people. But when you start to look at things differently, things start to change.
Okay.
When you start to be grateful for the things that you already have, you get more of what you want. And so
Okay.
I have a set of principles and practices that helps people to get really centered on the things that are going right for them and
Okay.
concentrate on those versus the things that are going wrong.
Okay.
And then last is expected. It's because we get out of life what we expect. And so we don't think that. We like to point the finger at why our life is the way it is. But truly,
Mhm.
every action you do today is going to affect what happens to you tomorrow. And it's not a blame thing, because we always get really touchy about it's not my
Mhm.
fault. It's not a blame thing. It is what it is. When you
Right.
do certain things, certain other things happen. Every choice you make in life has a consequence. So
Right.
it's a set of principles to show you how to make better decisions and to make better choices, so that later down the line, um, just things turn out better than they would have. If you think that something's going to go wrong, it probably will. Just pretty much.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you kind of dove into that because I was going to ask you about that. because I have your bio here pulled up, and that you're going to talk about that a little bit more
Mhm.
later on in the show. So I'm really super excited to hear about that. It was something I was gonna ask you, but sometimes I may forget, and I don't want to jump out there. I don't want to like interrupt you.
Oh, and yeah, and
Uh,
feel free if you think of something, just jump on in there because I get really excited about this topic and I will go. So feel free to jump in and ask me anything.
I could tell. I think that's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, what led you down this path? How exactly did this come about? Did you have possibly another business in the past and you rebranded, or like how did this come to you? How did you
Yeah.
know that this was it?
Oh, that's a great question. So exactly. So I started my first company in 2008. It was a consulting firm. And so what happened is I've been in the federal government contracting for a few years. And my background is actually in clinical research and public health. So I've always been in sort of quasi medical field. Um, I was writing regulations or helping to review regulations for the federal government policies and that sort of thing. Because, like I said, I'm just an innate teacher. So when I started off in kind of work world, everything I did had to do with like writing SOPs, writing manuals, trying like teaching
Okay.
people how to do certain things. And so I was always the one that got picked to do the trainings. And I kind of moved away from it because it's like everyone in my family is a teacher. Like I don't want to be a teacher. And I don't know why I told myself that, but it was completely false because that's all I want to do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept thinking like, we kind of wrap our ideas around certain we kind of paint them up to be a certain thing. So like teacher, I don't want to necessarily be in a schoolroom, right, and teach, but teaching is facilitating discovery, and there's so many ways that you can teach, and it does not necessarily have to be with 6 and 7 year olds, right?
Right.
um
Oh
and so
God, no.
right, but you don't
Just even the thought of that.
I don't. But listen. But I have family who they love teaching, and more power to them. Because can I say, just like plug for teachers right now, that it is a difficult,
Mhm.
often just they're talking about gratitude. They don't get a lot of
No.
gratitude for the work that they do. And I have the utmost respect. One, because I have a family full of them, but two, just in general, these people spend more time with our kids usually than we do, and we don't often give them their due. So 22nd, thank you to every teacher that's out there that really cares about their job because they affect our children, right?
You know
Um,
what? Wait, one thing. For some reason now you're starting to go in and out a little bit. And it doesn't seem like you did anything different, but I just wanted to make
no,
sure because I want people to be able to hear you.
okay, can you still hear me okay? Or is it
Okay, it seems better. If
okay?
if 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 it starts to happen again, I'll just do like that.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Um, so I started off just doing things. Every job I had, I was always the person who was writing instructions and teaching and so forth. And then I got into the federal space, and I was writing policies, and I absolutely loved it. I loved interacting with people. And then this woman came to my office one day, and she had a contract to do some sort of strategic work, right? And she came to my office and she sat with me for 2 weeks, literally taking notes on everything that I said. And then she presented it to the director of the particular branch that I was in. And I was just like, wow, so that a job? Is that like something?
Okay.
I'm doing the wrong thing here. Like, and I found out she was making a significant amount of money for just like really sitting around and taking some information from people. And I'm oversimplifying it, but like
Mhm.
consulting was a thing that
Okay.
I didn't really know about. So I said, okay, that's what I need to be doing. So I quit. I left the job. I started my own company. And I told, actually, my first contract was back with that office because I had created some systems that the they really wanted me to continue to run. So I said, I absolutely can do that. I'll build up my new company. That was my first contract and my first experience in the contract world where I got my first contract. So my business then was consulting, training, evaluation, program evaluation, that sort of thing. And then something happened. I always used to say, I need another me. Like there's so much going on, and I was like a one person band, and I need another me. And then I got pregnant with my daughter. So like literally had another me. And she just completely bringing her into the world completely changed my life. And I like to say that I think I was gifted with two things, and a daughter who knew her place in the world and a way to help others do the exact same thing. She came here so ready. It's just unbelievable. She, at 4 years old, decided she wanted to be, no, 2 years old, she wanted to be a doctor. And when I say a doctor, like, not just I want to be a doctor, like, I gave her one of my old stethoscopes. She had a lab coat, scrubs. She walked around like every day with her lab coat on. She was serious. She knew all of the medical terms at 2. 3 years old, she said, I want to be a paleontologist. And I'm like, did the baby just say paleontology? Like,
Right, did she really just say that? Like, I just know how to pronounce that last year. Like, really?
right. And so I'm just sitting there like, okay, well, maybe. So I asked her, I said, well, what do paleontologists do? She said, well, they dig up dinosaur bones and they get dirty, but it's okay. So apparently she knew what the heck she was talking about. So I said, okay, we'll go with that. Okay. And then at 4, she said she wanted to be a CEO, and we started a headband company. And at 5, she decided she wanted to start coding, software coding. So she went online and learned how to code in JavaScript. And so she's been coding since she was 5 years old. The first day she wrote like 200 lines of code.
Really? Since she was 5?
Yeah, she loves it. She loves everything related to science and math. She writes her own equation for fun when she's bored. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how old is she now?
She's 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I mean, just wow, you're right. She sure was born ready.
She was born ready. And so here's the thing. One of my, so I have 2 books. One is called The Success Blueprint, which is a anthology with Brian Tracy, and that's where I have a chapter in it called Momentology Manifesto, and that's where I begin to talk about what momentology is. Okay. And the second book came out this summer is called Entrepreneurial Elevation, and it's a compendium of 31 women. Again, another anthology. We're all talking about like our different journeys, and I talk about being a Wednesday's child, right? So there's that old saying that Wednesday's child is full of woe. I was born on a Wednesday, and growing up, I always was like in my headspace a lot. And I realized that she came into this world with something that everyone needs, that sense of urgency, that sense of self. Like, she's very tall for her age, and somebody said, oh, you can't be, whatever age, and you're so tall. And she's like, I feel like everybody should be this tall. She's cool with it. Like, and I absolutely love that I didn't have to teach that to her. It's just kind of who she is. But especially as women, right? We are in the workplace with all of these baggage, all of the things that we think that other people have that we need. And so that's what I mean about momentology kind of coming to me at that point. I just decided that, okay, I got a girl child. I got 5 boys, and here's this girl. Like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? But she came here like, okay, Mom, look, you need to get on the bandwagon. I got this. And so it helped me to really realize that everything that she already possessed, I wanted to kind of package up and kind of give that to other young girls and give that to other women. Like, this is who you are, know who you are, be who you are, and be okay with it. And so kind of like how the whole momentology thing got started.
So know who you are, and be who you are, and be okay with it. And know who you are, be who you are, and be okay with it. Right. And you know what? And it's just, it sounds really simple, but I run into a lot of women, and and even in the age, at the age of, I don't know, 30, people are still struggling, even 40s. People are still struggling with that, who they are versus who they're expected to be, because it always comes up during every show, or there's a few common things that always come up. And this is one of them, in going into like people pleasing and, dealing a lot with that, and just dealing with the expectations of others, constantly feeling like we have certain roles to fulfill. Right. Or there's certain expectations of us. And it was something that I just recently saw. Gosh, what was it? Oh, let me look at the time. Okay, because sometimes I get a little excited and I may kind of go off course. But remember that movie? It was a very recent movie. It's called Little.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, I just saw it. My son was watching it, and I kind of was hearing it in the background because I didn't really have a desire to see it necessarily. kind of heard a little bit of it in the background, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, I kind of like this. I like the idea of it.
Mhm.
I like, the actual storyline. I think
Yeah.
is a pretty good storyline. And one of the things that that was said, now you know what I'm talking about. I think it was in that movie that one of the bosses was talking about women. Oh no, I'm sorry, wrong. I'm sorry, wrong movie.
Okay.
Wrong movie. But wait. Oh, okay. So in that movie, what I liked was, or what really made kind of drew me to it, was the fact that she has some trauma that she had experienced when she was young, and in order to like fully accept herself,
Hmm.
the idea was that she had to go back
Right.
and practice some acceptance,
Right.
and so I'm not crazy, y'all. So that's what made me think of it when you started talking about being who you are. And she was
Right.
talking about, I don't remember verbatim, but I'm just paraphrasing because I only saw it once, but
Hmm.
just paraphrasing, that she spoke about pretending,
Hmm.
pretending to be something that she wasn't,
Yes. Yes.
or pushing people away because they didn't really accept who she was.
Hmm.
So that was one thing that I wanted to mention. And the other thing, and I was kind of mixing them up because I saw both of them around the same time. I saw another movie called The Marriage Story, and the lady lawyer, it was about this couple was getting a divorce, and the lady lawyer was talking about women and all of the expectations that we have, and about that we're expected to juggle so many things, and we're no one expects us to drop any of them. We're doing all of this juggling, and if we drop one or two, it's the it's a catastrophe.
Right. Right.
That the expectations are different. Like, we're actually expected to be perfect.
Hmm.
And then like I said, this is about a marriage, the ending of a marriage, and it was saying, but that as far as the men are concerned, they're not expected to be perfect.
Hmm.
They're expected to make mistakes or fall short. But when it comes to us as women, it's a whole different script,
Right.
whole different set of expectations. So I think that, like I said, this comes up every discussion, every time we have talk centered around that, and also self-care. That's also another one that also comes up. So to hear you talk a little bit about your daughter and her just being who she is,
Hmm.
and that sometimes it takes almost a lifetime for people, for women, I'm talking about women in particular, to come to that realization.
Yeah.
And just to think, I mean, she's like 5 years old. She probably, it appears she has it more together than some 40-year olds.
Absolutely. I'm hoping, and so my prayer is that she continues to have that, right? So she's 10, getting into puberty soon,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know that it's so hard for young women, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
challenge each other more so than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're having this discussion because she graduates from elementary school this year, right? And she's going into middle school, and I'm like, okay, middle school girls can be really rough. And so and then coming from a family of all boys, she's used to being around boys, and all her brothers are over 6 feet tall, 6'3", 4'5", six,
Mm-hmm.
7, right there. And so she's always used to, but she's the princess around them, right? So her persona and how she lives her life at home, I think, also influences, as we all are like this, right? Our environments definitely influence who we are in the world, right? So she has
Mm-hmm.
the self that she is, that God gave her, and then she has the self that she has been told that she is by the people who love her, and then
Mm-hmm.
she's going to be placed in a position where other people's opinions are now going to be placed upon her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we always are having these conversations about keeping true to who you are and
Mm-hmm.
not letting other people define who you are. And you said something a bit ago about like the expectations that we have, right? And so like the third
Mm-hmm.
tenet of momentology is around expectance. And I've heard so many people place a negative connotation around expectancy, like, well, I'm expecting things, but I'm not going to get my feelings hurt, or it's not. A lot of people feel like expectancy is wrong. Like, if you don't expect, then you won't be disappointed. And I don't have that. That's just not the way I think. I think that you create the world that you want. And you have to learn how to reframe what is, because reality is nothing more than your perception of what it is, right?
Your perception, right? Mm-hmm.
Isn't it? You think about someone who loses a family member. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll have woman A and woman B,
Right.
and they both lose their mother. So woman A spirals into depression. She can't deal well. She starts lashing out at people. At, all of the signs. There are different signs and symptoms for both depression and grief and so forth, and we all experience it differently. But think about woman A, who's like can't just this is breaking down, and then woman B, starts a foundation in her mother's name. Um, those often talk to people about how to cope with losing a loved one, and the event was the same. The thing was that a loved one, a mother, passed away, but maybe the woman A didn't have a great relationship. There were unsaid things that she wanted to say to her mother, and so she's projecting that onto the world now that she's angry that she doesn't have the chance to. Woman B told her mom she loved her every day. They spoke on a daily basis. They had a great relationship. So it's the things and events that are around the thing that happened. It's not the thing that happened. And that goes for anything that happens to us in life. Events are not in and of themselves good or bad. It's your perception of them, and how you deal with them, and your response to them, right? And a lot of times, to your point, women think that they have to shoulder everything. They have to be the nurturer, the provider, the caretaker, and they don't practice self-care because they have to take care of everybody. Right. And so awareness, gratitude, and expectance, there are things within those principles that speak to all sorts of things within our lives, including self-care. Awareness is, I'm tired.
Right.
Because some of us won't even admit
it.
Like, be aware that this is something that's draining you. This event, whatever the thing is, whether it's, keeping up with a crazy schedule, or whether it's, something, you just lost your job, whatever the thing is, being aware that this is affecting you is the first step. Like, if you don't acknowledge that you even are having this challenge, you're not going to be able to get past it. And then be grateful that it always could be worse. Like, yes, this is a bad thing. Yes, these are things that are going on, but what can I do in this moment to feel good? What are the things that I enjoy? Do I need to put on some Luther? Like, do I need some Beyonce, some Mary J, whatever it is, your thing, some Kirk Franklin, whatever it is, what can I do in this moment to feel better right now? The thing is going to be there in 20 minutes and an hour, the thing that's, making you upset. And then expectance. Expect that if you are alive in 30 seconds, 1 hour, 1 day, you will experience something else. This is temporary. Everything is temporary. Expect to be at the next place, and then figure out what you need to do to get there. So, yeah, I completely agree with your first statement.
So, you know what? I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we have time for everything. But when, hearing you talk about the expectance piece, what it makes me think about? The law of attraction. So from what I hear, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds as if a lot of those principles you would agree with or help, maybe have practiced yourself and help your clients to practice, correct? Okay.
Definitely. I would say that the where the principles I use and teach are different. I think law of attraction is a starting point. There's actually lots of quote unquote universal laws that are out there. The law of attraction is just one of them. But yes, you get back what you put out into the world. So,
all right. So the other questions that I wanted to ask before you dive into your, talking more about your topic.
Sure.
And some of them you've already, or a couple of them I think you've touched on already, but I'll lay them out there and you can kind of, string them, or do them in whatever order you want. Okay. I wanted to ask, what has been your biggest challenge, whether it be in your personal life or your business? Like what was that challenge, and how did you effectively, address that challenge so that you can continue to move forward? How do you practice good self-care? And tell us something interesting about yourself. And then lastly, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? And if I need to repeat it, I will.
Okay.
I know that was a lot.
Okay, so let's start with the challenge. I think that one of the greatest challenges I've had, both professionally and personally, is it's kind of a two-part. One is the knowing who I am and coming to grips with who the person that I am. And then the second part is actually allowing myself to be that, right? And so we, like you said about, you could be 40 years old and still trying to figure out how life is. That's just kind of how it is. We're all kind of just going and we're doing things. Like we get a certain interest in college or something and we're like, okay, I think I want to do this. And how many of us are working way outside of whatever we got our degree in? Like it just happens all the time, right? And that's kind of the natural progression of the human. We're kind of all over the place. But a lot of times we're going after things based on who we were told we are, right? Other people's stories about us, other people's perceptions of who we're supposed to be. And depending on how you grew up or who you are internally, some people are just naturally, no, this is how I am. Like my daughter, I have no, no worry about her like falling to peer pressure or anything like that, because she's the first one to say, this is how I feel and I'm okay with it. And you just got to either get on board or keep going. Like, and she just kind of came here like that. A lot of times we struggle with it. So one of my biggest challenges was being okay with who I am. And you were on earlier with a woman who was talking about like code switching and like trying to be who you are as an African-American woman in the workplace, right? So I have big like natural hair, and this was not always a thing. Like I've had weaves and perms and all that kind of stuff. And I remember years and years ago, a couple of decades ago, actually, when I was early in my career and I wanted to get braids. And I remember being specifically told by a recruiter that would not be a good idea. And it was like, it kind of hurt, but you almost accepted it. Like, you're like, yeah, that's not professional. Braids are not professional in the workplace. Now, this was 20 some years ago, right? So it was even more so then. And not a lot of people were wearing natural hairstyles then, right? And it was just like that fight that you have, you're already fighting on the inside, trying to figure out who you are. But if you can't naturally represent yourself, you are oppressed every single day you go to work, whether you know it or not. Because if you feel like you have to have a weave or straighten your hair or what have you in order to fit in, you haven't even gotten to the fit in part. You're not performing at your best because you are not who you're supposed to be when you show up that morning, right? And so a lot of the challenges I've had was being okay with whoever and however I decide to present myself that day. And I have gotten comments from people over the last few years, like, every time I see you, your hair looks different. And I'm like, yeah, I have cut it super, super short. I've done it straight. I've had braids. I've had, you name it, because whatever I feel like that day, that's what's going on. And that's who I am. And so it just really feels good to release fear. And that's what a lot of that about is. We're afraid of who people will think we are. We're afraid of who we have to be in our different environments. And so that has been the biggest challenge. It's something you continually work on, but I feel I am surgically removing fear-based decision making from my life. I don't care what it's around: hair, clothes, what I say, who I'm around. If I'm making a decision in fear, I stop it and I reassess. And so that has been my challenge, and I feel like I'm coming into my own at this point, and I'm helping other women, especially, to do the same thing.
Right. And it's okay. It's an ongoing process, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's ongoing, and we can't ever think we're there.
Right.
You're like, you're never there. And it'll always be some ledge that you stand on that you haven't stood on before. And it's scary. And the reason it's scary is because it's unknown. And as soon as you jump, it's no longer unknown. So there's no reason to be afraid.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see what else. The next thing, self-care, right? So that goes into self-care, to do what you feel you need at the moment. So, those of us with kids, and depending on what their ages are, we often feel guilty that we can't be there for them in all of their moments, right? And it's just impossible. You cannot operate space in two different places at the same time. So sometimes you have to be someplace else. And sometimes you get to be with your kid and you can't always do that. And I know like a lot of times, again, we feel guilty because we have to do all the things. And sometimes we have to give ourselves room to not be the one that does all the things. And I know that sounds, easier than it is to actually execute sometimes, because if you're a single mom and you don't have a support structure, I'm married, and so my husband and I have conversations all the time. Who's going to this and who's going to that? And I went last time, and I don't feel like whatever it is, right? We try to work it out. And my husband is a big time sports fan, so he loves anything having to do with sports. So he pretty much got my son's basketball game covered. My son will always have at least one person there. So if I gotta work late, or I'm at a conference, or I'm doing something, I know that my son always knows that one of us will be there. But other than that, we have conversations with our kids about being okay with who they are as well. Like, they know that we love them. So say, for example, neither one of us could be there. Yeah, my son would be disappointed, but that's never a thing. It's not like we're never going to see any of his games. And so we have to not be afraid of these conversations that we feel like our kids are judging us. We do. Sometimes we're like, well, mom can't do this, and mom. Have those conversations with them, include them in the process, include them in the decision making, so that they know that this is a family. Like, my daughter was doing acting for a while, and so we're like, okay, now we're doing acting. Then she had to go along with her brother to the games. Like, we all have to be there for one another. He had to trail along with a bunch of 9-year-olds doing stuff that he didn't want to do, because guess what? She shows up to your game.
Right.
So you just have to share. It's not really a burden. You just have to share the experience of living life with your family, so that when you need a minute, nobody's looking at you like they're crazy. And more importantly, you don't feel guilty about taking that minute. So if you're there for your family, put it on the table. We're all in this together. But today, I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to go get a massage, whatever is your thing. I'm going to go out to the park and draw pictures. Like, whatever it is your thing, you take that. And what's else? Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting is, so this is one of my favorite things, is I can say thank you in over 33, 34 languages.
That is interesting.
It's somewhat random. So when I was a kid, I've always loved languages, right? And so when I was little, my grandmother always used to say that she thought I was going to work at the UN, because I just loved languages. And anybody whoever I met and they spoke a different language, I would ask them how to say something like numbers or whatever. And then it went from just knowing like numbers and greetings to learning how to say thank you, because it's something about gratitude that has always been really important to me. And I feel like being able to express gratitude to someone in their own language, it's a heart-centered way, is the most down-to-earth way you can kind of express gratitude. So I never want to meet anyone on the planet that I can say thank you to in their language. So I purposely, anytime I meet someone and they speak something that's not on my list, I ask them. And yeah, so now I can say thank you in like over 30 languages.
Wow. Okay.
It's like a little game. It's a hobby. I can speak. I used to speak French fluently and Spanish, but it's kind of lost me. But my goal is to speak 5 languages fluently, like the entire, other than thank you, like the entire language.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That is interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. Wow. If we actually had time, I would like for you to give us a few. But I want to make sure we have time for everything. So the only thing you didn't answer, and if you want to wait and do it at the end, that's fine.
Okay.
Was what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? So you can either, I don't know, if you want to just
nope, I can do that one really quickly, and then we can do it. It's back to the fear, is to be fearless.
Okay.
Because I operated in fear for most of my life, fear of something, and it just held me back from so many things. And it's one thing to just say be fearless, but what I help my clients and people who come to hear me speak about is how you actually physically go through the steps of knocking fear out of your life, right? Because this is kind of like back in the day, just don't do drugs or something, like just say no. Just say no. Like, oh yeah, that's real simple. Just say no. If it were that easy, we wouldn't have a drug problem, right? So when I say be fearless, I don't mean it just like offhandedly, just don't be afraid. I mean to consciously and intentionally think about the things that you're afraid of. And when you make decisions and you're doing something, if you feel fear, and we all know what that feels like, that's the thing that you need to work on. You need
Okay.
to start from there. Start from fear.
Okay. Hmm. Okay. So give us a title of your topic and go ahead and dive in terms of your topic. So, ladies, get you some pen and some paper. Okay. So I'm ready. Actually, let me get mine out now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So this is what I want to talk about today is kind of based a little bit on as the TED Talk I just did. So I just did a TED
Okay.
Talk in last month in December. And it was called Design a Momentous Life. And it's basically around the concept that your life is yours to design. And that goes back to what we talked about in the beginning around me being a design thinking practitioner, which again is just creating experiences. And so
Mhm.
one of the things that I learned through the practice at work and in the corporate space of when I'm helping organizations and people figure out how to design products, how to design widgets or whatever, right? For example, the iPod is actually a product that was design thinking was used to create that. So before the iPod, we all had Walkman.
Mhm.
You had your Walkman and your CD or your tape player or whatever, and
Yeah.
you only had as many songs as was in the set, right?
Mhm.
Nobody thought at the time that we wanted 1,000 songs at our fingertips. Like that wasn't
Right.
even something that we could consider. Um, but what Steve Jobs did through not just the iPod, but through the way that he created products was to make products that seemed seamless. It just felt like convenience. It just felt like ease. It
Mhm.
delighted. And that's kind of the crux of design thinking is what delights you. And I think this, what's her name? Marie. Oh my goodness. There's a woman that talked about sparking joy. Oh my goodness, it starts with a K, and I'm sorry I can't remember what her name is, but I'm sure some folks that are listening probably have heard of her. And she talks about sparking joy. So like if you go in your closet and you're looking at all the clothes, and if the thing does not spark joy, throw it out, right?
Okay.
Meaning that things should make you happy. And sometimes we feel like life is supposed to be drudgery. It's supposed to be hard. No, it's not really. And it doesn't have to be. It's going to be hard on its own. We don't have to help it,
Right.
right? So, so part of designing a life that's worth living is systematically like taking an audit of everything that's in your life and figuring out what it's bringing to you. Is it adding or is it detracting?
Mhm.
And that's across the board. I mean, if you've got, my husband teases me about my shoes. Like he's like, how many shoes do you like? Listen. I need black shoes, and I might have 3 of the same style, but they're different color. It's a thing, right? My son is the same way about my purses, my handbags. He's like, Mom, you gonna get another bag? And I'm like, are you gonna get another video game? Like your thing is your thing, and my
Right.
thing is my thing.
Uh-huh.
Right? So across the board, look at the things that you touch, that you think about in your life, and figure out whether or not they're bringing you joy, whether or not they make you happy. And if they don't, you need to figure out how to get past that. And
Okay.
again, it's fear. If you are
Mhm.
afraid to move on something, that's the thing you probably should be paying attention
Okay.
to. So it starts with awareness. And then in the Momentology Method, I talk about awareness being aware of your situation, um, being aware of how you feel about it, right? So things are created 3 times. First in the mind, then
Mhm.
in the heart, and lastly in the hand, which means that everything that you can touch in this life, somebody had to think about it first, right? And not only did they think about it, they cared so deeply about it. That's where it comes to heart. They desired to see it manifest itself in the world. And so they did whatever they had to do. They put an action together to make that thing be a thing. So the zipper was a need. Somebody figured out the straw was a need. They had to think
Mhm.
about it. They had to care about it. And then they had to do something about it to make it come to fruition. And we all have that power. Like the Elon Musk, the Steve Jobs, and all of these, billionaires, they're human beings. They're no different. Oprah, Lisa Nichols, they all are people, are humans that have figured out that they can think of something and make it show up. And so as soon as you understand that you have that power, yeah, I like the world just opens up for you. You go from, okay, I'm aware that this is something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that although I'm not there yet, I've been able to do X, Y, and Z. Recently, I was talking to someone and I brought up something that I did years ago. And I completely forgotten until that conversation that I'd done it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like something small, it was something I did for work. I was like, oh yeah, I used to do that. Like it went into a black hole. I used to design drug kits. So like when you get a blister pack and you go to the store, to the pharmacy, and you pop out the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to design that. Well, I was one of those people a long time ago that would decide, are there a 6-foot pack? Are there 10-foot pack? Did they go in this way? Did they go in that way? So that's an actual thing that somebody has to do. And I was one of those people. I, crazy enough, forgot that that's what I did until somebody happened to ask me about something in pharmaceuticals, which, we were talking about. But that's what I mean. We do so much in our lifetime. We just negate how incredible we are. Like, you'll go to do your resume, and the reason why we give our resume to friends or somebody else to look at is because we're really poor judges of what we've done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so being aware that you are incredible in your own right now. And if I sit with you for 20, 30 minutes, I probably can pull out some things that you were not thinking about yourself, because we don't see ourselves the way other people see us, right? I think Les Brown has said, you can't see yourself because you're not in the frame,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the same thing applies. You have to be able to almost step away from yourself and look at yourself the way other people would look at you, see what's really going on, be grateful for what you have, and then the expectance is there has to be some sort of action that comes, right? So one example I use a lot is, say you are an accountant in Jersey, and you decide that although you're really good at accounting, you would love to be a bird watcher.
Okay.
And the best, and for some reason you just love birds and you don't know anything about it, but you just say, I wish I could do that. A lot of us think that the things that we think are stupid and we just dismiss them.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I kidding? I got all these bills. I got a mortgage.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I have my kids are in school. I can't go off and watch birds.
Watch birds.
Yeah. Well, why the hell not? Why can't you? Who said? The minute we decide we want to do something, the second thing we do is tear it down and tell ourselves why we can't do that, right? So, yeah, okay, I'm not saying that pack your bags and head to Seattle tomorrow, but I'm saying to execute your dream, you have to be able to build those small bridges leading up to it, right? And so if I'm an accountant and I live in Jersey, the first thing you need to do in terms of awareness is be aware. Well, what do bird watch? Where are they? Where are they online? Where's the best place for bird watching? Is there a certificate? Now, I literally actually looked this up just for this example a little while ago when I was writing my book. And there's bird watching trade organizations. There's a certification. You can be a certified bird watcher. Like, who the hell knew?
Right. Who knew that?
Like, what? So here's the thing. I call it the Google test. No matter what it is that you want to do in life, Google it. And if it comes up, first of all, it will come up. I promise you it'll come up, because you're not the only human being that's thought of it. And so there's a whole tribe of people out there that do what you want to do. So you have to learn how to start putting things into action. And no, it's not you becoming a bird watcher overnight, but it is you becoming closer to who you want to be. And that in and of itself gives you more and more momentum to get things done.
And also too, like how you said, there's a whole community of people out there. Yes. Different communities of people out there that's important to them.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's important, speaking to you ladies out there, we're all entrepreneurs, and to get that additional support that you need.
Exactly.
And changing your circle, right? You know how they say like-minded people coming together. That, I can't even put a price, or I can't even quantify how impactful that is. Mm-hmm. So when you mentioned that about the community in terms of looking it up, and, there's probably, using your example, probably a meet, every week or every month for people that enjoy watching birds.
Exactly. And look at the world we live in today. The fact that I could be online, like on Facebook, on a group with people in Australia, Polynesia, it doesn't matter. right? So we limit our own selves in terms of, oh, I don't know. Oh, this is one of my favorite like things that I get on the kids about. Like, I don't know, period. And also I actually had a little learning session I did at work one year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, period means you don't care. If you say I don't know and you put a period on it, you're not attempting to find out.
Right.
You're like, you're done with the subject. But I don't know, comma means I don't know, but let me go
Right.
find out. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but let me see what I can do. Right. I mean, and in terms of the business world, I used to also run customer service. Come on now. How many times you go to some place and you ask a question and it's so close ended? They're like, oh, no, we don't have that.
Right.
Okay, can you go look for it?
Right.
Right. So, but we do that to our own selves. Like, we come up with something and like, well, I don't know how to do it. And then we just stop.
Right.
So why are you stopping? You don't know. So how do you get to know? And again, you have at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our phones have more technology in them than the space station did in the 60s, right? So if you can't figure out what to do next,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't have to figure everything out, but you can figure
Right.
out the next step. But we we shut down. Oh, I don't know how to do this, so I guess I can't do it. That means you're in your own way. And you also have to call your own self out on your BS and say that you're not doing the thing, not because you can't, but because you won't.
Right. And especially now, like you said, all of this information is right at our fingertips. You know, and especially I find with the younger generation, they know how to access information, and you know, because I know a lot of my brother is much younger than myself, and I'll say something to him, and I'll say, well, you know, I'm really not sure how to do that. He'll be like, you know what? Remember, I keep telling you, just Google it. I'm like, okay, or
Yeah,
YouTube it. You
yes,
know,
right.
it doesn't matter what it is. There's somebody on this face of the earth
Yes.
that did this and thought to videotape it. You'd be surprised. You
Listen,
know,
and any of the women that are listening now, especially right, think the natural girl journey. I promise you, there are a gazillion emails.
yeah.
There are a zillion videos on YouTube.
YouTube channels and
Oh
everything
my
else
goodness.
about it, right?
Every product now, first of all, there are just way too many natural products. But everybody that's out there, somebody has done a review on it and can tell you. And we get all like sucked into it. I go down that YouTube hole all the time. My daughter will go in it on her stuff and I'll go, yeah. So, but it's out there. The point is the information is out there. You don't have to take it all in, but at least you can see what other people are doing. Like you said, there's a meetup, find a tribe, whatever the thing is. If you want to be a hairstylist or you want to own your own salon, you want to be a tactical, whatever it is you want to do, you're going to find other people who are doing it well. You don't have to be just like them, but you can figure out how they got to where they are and just start crafting your own plan.
Yeah. I like that. Because, you know, as soon as, if it's something, and I didn't always have this mentality, but if it's something I want to do, the first thing I'm going to do is do my own research on it, and then figure out who's doing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And meet up with those individuals that are doing it, and find out, you know, like taking on a mentor and finding out what exactly they did. Like, what are some of the steps? And like you said, it's not that you're, you know, taking anything from anybody or copying someone or anything like that. But if it's something you want to do, there's a lot of individuals out there that are already doing it that may be willing to mentor you, or, you know, that's a lot of times women in business get a coach. And a lot of times people have a coach for all sorts of things. They have a mindset coach, they have a business strategist, they have virtual assistants, they have people that work on the Facebook ads. I mean, their email marketing system. You know what I mean? You don't have to do everything alone, and you don't have to know everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're not going to know everything.
You're not right. You're not going to know anything. So you need to reach out to people who know. And that's the other thing about like trying to figure out what to do, because a lot of times we just get stuck. Like, I just don't know what to do. Do something. Start there, and you'll find other things. And when you find something that you don't know much about, find somebody who does.
Yeah.
And talk to that person. But at least you're moving forward, and it's that forward motion that actually gets you into rooms that you didn't think you could be in, because you spoke up, you said something to someone, or you reached out and you emailed, whatever it is. And people want to help people that want to help themselves.
Right.
So if someone sees you trying, you might not have everything figured out, but they're like, well, let me help you with this piece. And well, what do you need? And so the other thing that I would say is to also be ready to ask for what you want, because a lot of times we're like, well, that drives me. I will get inquiries from people who want coaching, and they'll say, I just need to, and I'm like, please take the word just out of your vocabulary, because what that says is this thing is not important. And it is important. It's if it's important enough for you to reach out, that means it's important enough for you to get done. So stop diminishing it by saying, oh, I just need to do this. I just need to do. No, you need this thing, point, period, blank, leave it alone, and go get it, and then move on to the next thing that you need. But I would be happy with, or if I could only have, we have this minimalist thing where we feel like we don't want to be greedy, or we don't want too much, right?
Yeah, you know what? Just remind me to go back to that part about the just.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the whole point is that we don't feel like, we feel like we're asking too much.
Right.
And I feel this is my personal opinion, but I just feel like God is for growth. Like He wants us to have more, to be more, to do more. And there's so many asking you shall find. Like there's so many scriptures around God telling you that it is yours if you have the desire, and if you work in a framework of love, it can be yours, whatever it is that you want, as long as you're not out here trying to harm people.
Right.
God wants you to have the desires of your heart. Like there are things that you can do to help people, but you can't help somebody else until you help yourself. So like if you want to start a nonprofit, people, I'm an advisor for nonprofits. I've done advising, and they have a similar mentality around, it's a nonprofit, like we're not supposed to make money. No, you have to bring in money because money operates the organization. The difference is there are no state, there are no, you're not paying out to, the difference is for a nonprofit, you're using that to continue the mission versus giving dividends to owners or something like that, right? But you still actually have to have money in your coffers in order to do the good work that you want to do. The same goes for us and the things that we want to do in the world. Money runs the world. So if you don't have a location, a venue, if you don't have people to show up to serve, whatever it is, the thing that you do, you need resources.
Right.
So it's nothing wrong with asking for the resources that you want and asking for them in abundance. You need lots of them to do lots of good work. I mean, we get really caught up in that.
So what do you think that's about? Why? And I think this is especially so for us as Black Americans, right? Why do you think we're so in that whole scarcity mindset, or that whole mindset of because I know like one big thing that I've always been told by my dad and my aunts and uncles is things like what's that saying that they always say, we're gonna hope for the we're gonna hope for the best but prepare for the worst, or just that whole belief of not wanting to set yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
What do you think that comes from?
Right. No, that's a great point. That kind of goes back to what I was talking about, expectance, where people think that they shouldn't expect good things. So we don't have time.
We don't have time.
Yeah. there's so much, but so I'll just say this, especially because you specifically asked about like the African American community, and that's what I think, not just the African American community, but the have-nots, right?
Okay.
Whomever that may be, right?
Okay.
The way that the way that our society was set up is that these people that are at the top, right, they are the quote unquote job creators for all of the other people. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but just think of it this way. It serves their purpose for them to tell you that you should be a hard worker.
Okay.
Right? It serves their purpose for them to tell you that you should have this great work ethic. You should show up every day for 40 years, because that's what keeps their operations going.
Right.
Okay. And so we went from never mind the racial and all the other things that kind of gone into the history of America, but the whole point is from an industrialized nation and place where the worker bees, the people who make stuff work, if they had a very casual idea of work and they're like, I want to go off and dream and be better, they're not going to be showing up to work, right? And so there was no reason for people who own businesses to want workers to think that way. And there's in psychology, we learn about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is basically like, if you have to start at the bottom. The first need of a human being is to eat, right? So to eat and shelter and clothing. And so you have to satisfy those needs before you can get to the next need, which is a higher up of who am I? Where am I going? You don't have these kind of existential crises about who you are in the universe when you can't eat. First thing is I gotta eat. And so most of us are so concentrated around that first tier, that first survival instinct kind of thing, that we don't get to the higher level thinking about who we are and what our place is and our purpose and everything. Japanese have a philosophy called ikigai, Ikigai, and it is the convergence of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for.
Say that again. I'm going to write that down.
Sure. So it is what you love, what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs.
And but what's the phrase called again?
It's called ikigai, Ikigai.
Okay. Okay.
And so ikigai in Japanese, I think the literal translation is basically like purpose, your reason for waking up. So it's like your purpose for being in the world, right?
Okay.
And so you can have something that you love, but you are not good at it. Like I love song and singing. I'm not good at it. I can't sing. But I watch all the voice competitions and like American Idol. I love to hear people who have good voices, but that's not my thing, right? Then there's a thing that you're good at, but you might not love it. You might be really good in math. And like that accountant that we talked about earlier, you're really good at math and you can do people's taxes and everything, but it's just like, it doesn't set you on fire. You could care less. It's just something you happen to have a natural proclivity towards, right? And then it's what you can be paid for. There are things in the world that people find valuable. And so if you can find a thing that you absolutely love to do, there's a need for it in the world, someone will pay you for it and you're good at it. That's your space, you know? And so I'm always in search of ikigai. I'm always in search of the thing that fulfills those 4 kind of chapters where I'm happy because I'm doing something that I love, I'm good at it. And when you're good at something, you like to do it, you do it better, you're more productive, right? I love it, I'm good at it, I'm getting paid for it. And the world is, I'm serving a purpose in the world, like it has an impact. And so when we can fill those 4 corners, we're living to our purpose.
Okay. I love it. Wow. I think that's just with that right there, I think it's you're leaving all of the audience with something to think about. You know, if you haven't thought about it already, you know, something to explore and to continue to explore.
Yeah.
You know, what is your purpose? Because I know I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and, you know, a lot of times people may start off doing one thing, right? And through that work, you know, and the ongoing, you know, growth process, they rebrand or they, you know, decide that they want to do something different, or they come to find that what they, you know, yes, they're good at this, but they're even better at this.
Right.
You know, so, and that's all part of the process.
It's part of the process, and you're readjusting.
Yep.
So when I say you're designing your life, like you think about, like you build a house, right? You have to have a blueprint. You have to figure it out. Well, what about if you started off and you're drawing and then you decide you want an extra bathroom? So put an extra bathroom in there, and there's a cost associated with it, right? Because you didn't plan for that bathroom, or you didn't plan for these fancy lights and fixtures. But what we do is we go, well, I already have the blueprint. I can't put another bathroom in there. That's not the case. You can, there's just a cost. So you should always be reframing and figuring out, readjusting, like, okay, if I want this thing, I'm gonna have to let this thing go. If I want to do this other thing, I need to change something. So it's nothing wrong with changing. And we feel like we're giving up or we're quitting. You don't quit unless no, I take it back. We take it as we're failing. So what I'm saying is you don't fail unless you quit.
Right.
So if you just decide to hang it up, and I don't mean change direction, because that's another thing that we feel like you thought you wanted to do something in business, like I said about your degree. You have a degree and you go out there and you start to do it and you hate it. We feel obliged to continue that path. Why? You hate it.
We got $70,000 worth of student loans, and we like people and other folk, girl, you better be doing, girl, that ain't what you went to school for. You better go ahead and do that.
Oh, and you hit on something really, really good too. So when you're talking about changing your circle or being around other people, as we grow, so say some of us have gone into the space where we're now maybe a little bit more quote unquote successful than our peers, or some folks we might have grown up with or what have you, right? And we'll let them tell us, you better be thankful for that good government job, or you better be
Oh,
thankful for
don't
that.
even go there.
You know what I'm talking about? You got a good job. You should. Why are you complaining? And we get so guilty about wanting more because other people have told us that what we had is enough, and they can't determine what is for you. Only you can determine what's for you.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. That whole it's good enough, or you already spent $70,000 on that degree. You can't change now. Every degree, every learning experience, everything you do only goes into your bank of knowledge.
Yep.
It's not going anywhere. You're not losing it. If you got a degree in the accounting, you still know how to do accounting.
Yep, you still got a degree in
You
accounting.
still got
And
a
then
degree in
some.
accounting. It didn't go anywhere. So if you decide now you want to go into law, you're now a lawyer who understands the finances really well. So that's a whole other niche that you have. So you can combine niches, and I don't care what it is. I promise you, you can find something that you can be a hairdresser that turns into a lawyer. You can then be a lawyer who represents hair salons.
Right.
Like, just stop closing your brain on, oh, I went to school for this thing, or I only can do this. No, because you're a dentist who also is a jogger, who also is, put them all together and find your icky guy. Find the thing that makes you happy.
Yep. And stop all that limiting behavior, boxing yourself in. It's like you said, once you realize that whatever you desire, you can manifest it and you're worthy of it.
Yes.
The possibilities are limitless.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the time. So let's go ahead and wind down. Is there anything else you want to share just to kind of, wrap up, maybe something that you wanted to mention that you didn't mention? And secondly, let the audience know if there is, something that you are currently promoting. And then lastly, where they can find you.
Okay. So I would just say there are certain things that you have to do no matter what it is whatever it is you want to achieve in life, right? You have to have a clarity about what that thing is. And there are steps you can take to get clear if you're not. You have to develop courage to go get it, right? Because once you're clear on it and you know that that's the thing, it takes a lot of effort to develop the courage to go after it, because we tell ourselves all these stories about why we can't have it. And then you have to have conviction in order to see that thing through to fruition, and not let your limiting beliefs, other people's thoughts and dreams and aspirations for what you're supposed to do. Oh, I wanted my daughter to be a doctor. Whatever that is, let it go and have the conviction of what you are finally clear about, and have that courage to go get it. So that's, and you can meet or exceed any goal following kind of that framework. And I would just suggest that you reach out to someone to do that. I have a complimentary 20-minute discovery call that I offer folks that are looking to do and be and have more. And it is bit.ly/Momentous Life Now. And you can go on and schedule some time on my calendar, and you can discover it doesn't matter what you want to do. I have speaking clients. I'm a speaking coach. I help people in public speaking. I've had people come to me ever since like the TED Talk, and now people are like, hey, can you tell me how I can, and I will be a coach for the next series for TED Concocting Women's Circle, which I'm really excited about, because again, facilitating discovery, I can't wait to get my hands on those folks who want to get up on the stage. And so whether it's public speaking, whether it's career oriented or leadership coaching, you feel like I'm supposed to be here and I'll need a roadmap, I can help get you there. I can support that effort. So.
Okay. So that was where they can, that was what you have coming up, and you mentioned where they can find you. Just spell it for me. I'm gonna stick it here at the end. It's
sure.
I know it's that bit.ly, but it's bit.ly.
Yep. bit.ly/. Momentous.
Wait a minute, hang on. Let me put the / in there.
Okay.
That won't let me do it. Okay. bit.ly and then / and then spell it for me. MON.
MOMENTOUSLIFE now. Momentous Life Now. LIFE.
Okay.
And then alternatively, I'm sure my name is on this thing here. So MalaikaSimmons.com. I have links inside that you can schedule a call with me inside of the the webpage.
Okay, you know what? I think I'll put that down.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, well, excellent. Excellent, excellent. So thank you so much for coming on the show today and
Absolutely. Thank
sharing
you for having
your
me.
thoughts. And it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. And I'm pretty sure a lot of individuals that have listened or that will listen will get something from this, and they could reach out to you. So definitely reach out if you need some help or have additional questions. But thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that we work together again at some point in the future.
Thank you.
And
I
you're in the
appreciate it.
you're in the Maryland area. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, wonderful. Well, I guess with that, we'll go ahead and conclude. You enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon.
And you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye bye.